Hi, I'm Cheryl from We're in the Rockies, and the point of our channel is to help you plan an amazing trip in the Rocky Mountain region, or even if it's just a small outing, we want to give you some handy tips to make your adventure great. So today I am talking about visiting Yellowstone during COVID. We just got back from there a couple of weeks ago and we had a wonderful time, but there are some important things that you need to know before you go. So I've got 6 things to talk to you about, and I'm just gonna get started. So number 1, bring water. I cannot emphasize this enough. You know, many things in the park are closed down. We chose to camp, so we were at a campsite and the water spigots in the campsite were working, and so we were able to get water at our campground. But once we got into the park, it was kind of funny that there wasn't water available. A lot of the visitor centers and the amenities are closed, so you can't go in the buildings where there would normally be water fill-up stations. And when I did come across water fill-up stations, they were closed because they were trying to prevent the spread of COVID. And so it did get kind of desperate. Every day I would load up a big water jug for my family, and we have a family of 6, and we'd all have our water bottles, but it wouldn't last throughout the day. And at one point I did actually find a building. We were at Yellowstone Old Faithful area, and at the gift shop you can go in there, but I ended up filling up my water jug in the bathroom, which was really gross, but it was hot and we had no water. So my point there, tip number 1, is bring water, and lots of it, lots of drinks. Make sure you have those things with you. Number 2, plan on packing in some food too. So many of the amenities are closed that, you know, restaurants, gas stations I saw open, but a lot of the restaurants are closed or they have limited seating, so it's hard to get in because the tables aren't all available. And, you know, they're trying to protect their employees as well. And so there's just limited availability of food. So if you can swing by a grocery store before you head in the park and get some snacks, go for it and do it. One funny experience my family had with our COVID experience, we were staying near West Yellowstone, and one day we decided we wanted to get McDonald's breakfast. And so we go there, and we'd hooked up our truck and our trailer, and we get there and the lobby is closed at McDonald's, no dine-in service at all. But we really didn't feel like we could pull our truck and trailer through the drive-in, and so we ended up just standing in the drive-through and walking through. It was much the humiliation of my 12-year-old. But point of tip number 2, be prepared with food. The amenities are not how they normally are, and so getting food might be a little difficult too. Number 3, know what is closed before you go. This is kind of a moving target. My friend that went to Yellowstone a couple of weeks before us, she had more things closed than when I went. And so they do update their website. If you just, you know, Google Yellowstone, they'll be able to, they'll kind of have some information on there, and we are going to put a link on this video that we found a great chart that has an open and closed thing. So you're going to want to check that out at the end of the video. But you're going to want to know exactly what is open and what is closed. As of right now, when I'm doing this video, I want to tell you that all of the visitor centers are closed. Yellowstone has multiple visitor centers, but they are all closed. The Old Faithful Inn, the famous building that's so beautiful, people can still stay in that inn, but it's not open for just the average, you know, Joe to go in there and look around and see it. That's closed, as well as the restaurant. The ranger programs are not going. That's probably the saddest thing for me. I love to go to those campfire programs at night where they have the fire going and the ranger comes out and talks about a different kind of animal or a certain geyser basin, but those are not going right now. Other things that aren't going is the junior ranger program. Now, you can still participate in the junior ranger program, and if you're unfamiliar with those, I highly recommend it. They're programs meant for children. I think you can start like as early as age 4 all the way up through like 16, and they kind of cater it towards the age. And you can normally pick these up in the visitor centers, and when your child completes the program, they give them a little badge and they do a little pledge to be a ranger and take care of the park. But right now, since these visitor centers are closed, you'll need to go online and print off the Junior Ranger book. So you can print off the entire thing. Of course, it doesn't look like the nice one that's stapled up together, but you can still print it off, and you can, later on when they complete it, you can mail it in and get your pin, I believe. Oh, the buildings at the Mammoth at the top of the park, all of those buildings are closed right now. We also have the road between Tower and Canyon is closed. Now this has nothing to do with COVID, but they are doing construction on that, and so that means the waterfall at Tower is closed. And it is, you know, that's the upper loop. You can't go completely around. You're going to have to either go up there and then go back, or, you know, just pretty inconvenient. The campgrounds are closed up there. And the amenities up there, you know, restaurants, all of that closed. All of the walk-in campgrounds are closed. The only ones that are open are the ones by reservation. So you'll want to plan on that. And with that happening, don't plan on just driving up to Yellowstone and looking out on a campsite, because of the limited campgrounds available, and especially the walk-in campgrounds. People are reserving these campgrounds in advance, and it's fairly difficult to get a campsite. So big tip on there is know what is closed. Oh, I forgot to mention one other thing. I forgot to write it on my outline. Their swimming is closed. If you enjoy going swimming at Firehole Canyon or the Boiling River up in Mammoth, both of those were closed too, so no swimming. Now, tip number 4, know what is open. Now, it sounds like there's a lot of things that you can't do right now, but there's actually a lot of things you still can do. Of course, there's the geyser basins are open, the boardwalks are open. The animals don't know that the COVID's going on. You can still see animals. Oh, you can still stay at Old Faithful Inn and Old Faithful Lodges, so you still have options to stay in hotels in Yellowstone. The clinics are open. You know, if you needed medical attention, that's a good thing with all this going on, that you can still get medical help. You can still rent boats there. In fact, while we were there, this was kind of a fun thing that we did, but we went in West Yellowstone, we went to a rodeo and horseback riding, and that was a pretty fun experience. And so a lot of these businesses are still open. We also visited the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center, and that was neat. It was, you know, COVID. It was definitely like the COVID experience. Some of the buildings in there weren't open. We had to wear a mask, and they timed, you know, you go there and you buy your ticket, and they'll tell you a time frame of when you can enter the park, you know, because they don't want too many people in there. You know, if I didn't say it already, masks were required, so you had to have that on. But still a great experience. The IMAX theater in West Yellowstone is still open. So there's still plenty of things you can do to have a good trip in Yellowstone. But, you know, do your research before you go. Make sure that things are open that you want to see, and make sure that you're not driving to somewhere that's already closed. Okay, number 5 to know. Are there still crowds? Yes. Yellowstone was very crowded when I went. We went in July. Normally, in fact, I would say this is the first year we've ever gone to Yellowstone during, you know, peak season. Normally we'll go in the fall, but we went there over July, and, you know, first of all, we weren't able to get a campsite in the park. We didn't plan this trip that far in advance, but the campsites in the park were completely booked, so we ended up staying outside of the park. And, you know, when we went into the park, there were a lot of crowds. I feel like with COVID going on, that camping is the new hip thing. When we drive by the RV center near my home, normally that parking lot is filled with trailers, and now it's empty. Like, you can't even buy a trailer if you want one. So camping really has taken off, and people are, you know, doing more of those types of vacations because they're not having to stay in hotels if they don't want to. They can drive there, and Yellowstone is no exception. Even with all those things closed, people are visiting Yellowstone, and it is pretty crowded, but still a good time. Now, the last question is, should I still go to Yellowstone? And my answer is yes. Yellowstone is always a magical experience every time I go. I've been there so many times growing up, and as an adult now taking my own kids. You know, it was definitely a different trip. You know, as I looked around, I'd see people I'd see some people wearing masks. I would say maybe 50% of the people were in masks. You know, Yellowstone's Wyoming, Montana, they don't have laws requiring you to wear masks, but they're definitely recommended. Certain businesses and establishments will require you wear a mask when you go in there, but as far as Yellowstone National Park's concerned, you don't have to have a mask on. And so, you know, be aware, if that's a concern for you, that not everyone around you will be masked up. As far as being able to maintain a 6-foot distance between other people, I would say that was possible quite a bit of the time, even when we went to see the geysers, you know, because those geyser basins are so big that you can kind of walk around and keep your distance from other people, and, you know, it worked out okay. I would just say the biggest inconvenience there right now is the lack of water. That was what concerned me a good part of the trip. But overall, I would say Yellowstone is still worth doing during the COVID season. One other thing I wanted to bring up is that, you know, high-risk populations, I think, could still go to Yellowstone and be pretty safe, but you'd want to be smart about where you went. Not all places are as crowded as others. You know, if you were really concerned about the crowds, you know, stay in your RV, use that bathroom, don't use the public ones. Yellowstone has, I saw, you know, I noticed that they were very good about having all of their outhouses with, you know, the hand sanitizer in them. I never ran across one that like was empty. There was always hand sanitizer available. But most of the bathrooms in Yellowstone, when you go around to the geyser basins and the sites, are outhouses. You know, they have the vault toilets, and so there's not running water, so you're using sanitizer. You know, bring a bottle of sanitizer with you. Make sure you have it. And then if you are concerned about the exposure to crowds, you know, go on some less traveled hikes. We went on a bike ride where we didn't see very many people. So there are, you know, or view a lot of the wildlife from your car, drive around the loops. There are ways to go visit Yellowstone if you are concerned about the spread and about your exposure. But I would say overall, I would do it again. I would just put on my mask and head out to Yellowstone. So before you go, check out check out our list of the things that are open and things that are closed. Yellowstone National Park put out an excellent list. We'll put the link on here so that you can see exactly what's open and what's closed. Also, watch some of our other videos on Yellowstone. We've done a few others that talk about things besides COVID. I know that when I go to watch TV, I'm kind of wanting an escape from hearing about all of this, but I thought there might be some people that wanted to know kind of what it was like to go there during this time. But watch our other videos talking about some other tips for Yellowstone, things to see, and how to go about it. Thanks for watching.